The Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Friday, the 21st day of April 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, 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 please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, if you do so, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. And to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. His advice is, live your best life and make sure your family can too. Live your best life and make sure your family can too. Also, More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture, tap into your roots. More Than Words, located on the second floor of the Thompson building. For those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you as well. For those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands, we wish you a speedy recovery. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. Again this morning, waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261. Follow us on YouTube. You do that simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. And, of course, we are on Facebook as well. So let's look at some of the birthdays being celebrated today, and to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you this morning is to live your best life and make sure your family can too. Also, more than words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture, tap into your roots. More Than Words, located on the second floor of the Thompson Building. So we see that Michael LeMay celebrating a birthday today, April the 21st. We have his age here as well, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to put that out there. Mickey Henry celebrating a birthday today also. We have an age on here also. Simon Watson celebrating a birthday today. That's our own Miss Susan Watson's nephew, Simon. He's celebrating his birthday today. Courtly Mellors also celebrating a birthday today. So all of those birthday people, we want to wish you a happy birthday. We also want to tell you, whatever you do in terms of celebrating, please ensure that you do so in moderation as well. So folks, lots to talk about, a lot of things happening in the Cayman Islands. We had the midterm update by Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister with responsibility for tourism and ports. That took place last night. We're going to talk some about that. And you would have heard it also on, I think, Radio Cayman News carried it. And this one we're going to talk about extensively. The House of Commons Committee has launched a new inquiry which relates to the UK's relationship with the overseas territories being under the spotlight. And I received an email yesterday from the House of Commons Committee, and I would encourage you to do the same that I did. I had been visiting their website quite frequently, and basically signed up to be alerted to any news in relation to the overseas territories. So yesterday, I received this notification, this email. It says, "Hi there, I'm writing from the UK's House of Commons Select Committee media team, as we thought you might be interested in a new inquiry launched by a committee of MPs today. The Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee will examine the constitutional position of the overseas territories and welcomes submissions from governments, parliaments, and citizens of overseas territories as part of the inquiry. There is more information in the press release today. Please let me know if you have any questions or need further information." And so that has been shared with us, and that is coming from the Media and Communications Officer, Select Committee, Women and Equalities, Public Administration, and Constitutional Affairs. So we're going to talk about that as well. That conversation is going to take place this morning with, I would say, no stranger, but sometimes a stranger to For the Record, Miss Theresa Pitcairn, and our usual stalwart here in the studio, Dr. Steve Macfield. So folks, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Sorry, I was just distracted collecting my thoughts. So as I was sharing while we had the break, well, before the show started, thank you so very much for inviting me to participate this morning. And you know, when Dr. Steve calls me up, I can't say no. So I know you might feel a little way that, you know, when I'm here, I'm really only here for a short period of time.
No, we understand the commitments that you have.
Yeah. But this morning, I was looking at some of my records. I've been involved with constitutional change from the time I came back from the UK, you know, Steve?
Yes.
From 1991, I've been involved in the 1999 review when they had that white paper, in 2001 when they went through the review again, and in 2012 when the former Premier, Honorable Makiva Bush, asked me to prepare and organize. I think you were with me as
Yes,
well.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I was the cabinet secretary at the time.
At the time,
But you know,
yeah.
funny things, I was talking to someone this morning
Yeah.
while in the studio. I called them and we're talking to them, and they mentioned you and your involvement.
From
At that
forever.
time. Yes,
Yeah. So I resurrected some of the notes that I had. Steve, I got one whole folder. And but thanks very much. I'd really, really like to get engaged in this conversation this morning. Lots of meat, lots to discuss.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you to
Doc?
Mr. For the Record, and thank you, and good morning to all your listeners in for the Record land, those in the listen to you Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and those in the Cayman diaspora too who listens to you. Good to be here. It's my favorite subject. It's the thing that propelled me all of my life through university, and I think it kept me going, kept my mind sharp. I also came out personally and politically in 1991, white paper.
Mm-hmm.
We held the first meeting on the published white paper in the little town hall, the little hall in South Sound. And we had some speakers.
South Sound Community
South
Center,
Sound
yes.
Community Center there, and that's when people started getting interested in the relationship between the United Kingdom and its territories, and that was the first time. And it was, I think it was something about something for progress.
Partnership for progress.
Partnership for progress, yes.
And prosperity.
And prosperity.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know if it's a partnership. I know the island is prospering, but I don't know how much it is
Well,
for the young
at
people.
one point in time, we had one of our leaders of government business saying it wasn't a partnership, it was a leakership. But we're going to take a break. Want to remind our listeners that we're going to close off the phone lines for now because we want to establish a base, in terms of what we want to talk about, the conversation, the direction that we want it to go, because we basically want to talk about this constitutional review that is going to take place, or looking at the relationship between the UK and its overseas territories. And in our case, specifically, we're going to be talking about the Cayman Islands, so we want to basically focus on that as well. So, folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Clara Eden, Certificate of Honor, 1870 through 1969. Nurse Clara Eden was an extremely loyal and faithful midwife who traveled to all outer districts to deliver babies. She apparently had a record of the babies she delivered, along with the names of their parents in her first house, which burned down. At that time, she confirmed that she had delivered 1,500 babies, and when she retired, she estimated she had delivered 2,000. She took excellent care of both mother and baby for 9 days at the cost of £2. Nurse Clara was a faithful member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She was the only person in Grand Cayman who knew how to do starbread handwork, and in her spare time, she taught a few people how to do it.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Every boy, every girl, every mom, every dad, every student, every teacher, every scholarship provider. The annual Rotary Central Bill Ruby Science Fair is back. Saturday, April 22nd at the Ark Recreation Center, Camana Bay. A universe of science, invention, innovation, experimentation, botany, medicine, robotics, engineering. So much imagination, so much science. Your children, our children. the next Nikola Tesla, the next Albert Einstein, the next Stephen Jobs, budding climate scientists, maritime scientists, engineers, biomedical engineers. Hear them talk, see them show you how. The 16th Annual Rotary Central Science Fair, Saturday, April 22nd at the Ark Recreation Center, Camana Bay. This event is free to the public. Rotary, all that you can imagine.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Ensuring your existing appliances and equipment are cleaned and maintained regularly is an easy way to improve energy efficiency in your home.
Have your air conditioning equipment serviced by a professional. Make sure bathroom and kitchen exhaust fans and refrigerator coils are cleaned regularly, because the harder your appliances have to work, the higher your bills will be.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costyless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture. Tap into your roots. More Than Words bookstore in the Thompson Building. Supplies local books, gifts, trinkets, keepsakes, wall plaques, and journals. The hub for local authors. More Than Words. So much more. More Than Words is now open. Shop number 4, second floor, Thompson Building. Or call 936-5544.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, Miss Teresa Pitcairn and Dr. Steve Matfield. So I'm going to share, because we have about 8 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news, and then when we come back from the news, then we're going to get into the meat of the issue. But the release that I shared earlier with you, then it says the UK's relationship with overseas territories under spotlight in new inquiry, the constitutional arrangements of the UK's overseas territories and whether the relationship is satisfactory and appropriate in the 21st century. That's interesting. Whether or not it is satisfactory and appropriate in the 21st century is the main focus of the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee's new inquiry. Goes on to say that while 10 of the UK's overseas territories are self-governing And we need to look at that, what they mean by self-governing as well.
Exactly.
Yes, we need to talk about that. So we need to parse that as well. The UK is responsible for their defense and foreign relations. The interaction between the overseas territories and the UK Parliament and government was brought to attention during the passage of the Sanctions and Money Laundering Act 2018, where the unusual step was taken to extend the act to cover their jurisdictions. The committee is seeking evidence on how the UK Parliament and the civil service engages with the overseas territories and across different government departments, how their interests are represented in the UK Parliament, and how the rights of British overseas citizens are protected. Then it goes on to give a quote from William Ragg, who is the member of Parliament and also the chair of the committee. He says the UK overseas territories are an important part of the UK family. They call us family. With 10 territories permanently inhabited by British nationals and all 14 represented at the international level by the United Kingdom, we cannot deny their unique constitutional position. Each territory has its own legislative process and bespoke relationship with the UK, but with no official representation in the UK Parliament. These constitutional arrangements are often misunderstood or overlooked. We recognize that there is no one-size-fits-all framework for relations between the UK and the overseas territories, but by better understanding how existing arrangements operate in practice, we can better assess whether they are satisfactory and appropriate in the 21st century. So, folks, here are the terms of reference of the committee. The committee welcomes submissions by 5 p.m. on Monday, the 4th of September. That is a little bit short of 5 months' time that we would have, right? On any or all of the following questions, and here are some of the questions. Are the UK's current constitutional arrangements as regards the overseas territories satisfactory and appropriate in the 21st century? That's one of the ones that we're going to talk about, that we're going to tap. What is the UK's government's relationship with the overseas territories? What is the UK's Parliament relationship with the overseas territories? How is legislation made in the overseas territories, and what role does the United Kingdom government and the UK Parliament have in this process? That is the serious one, because that is where we have the nuclear options and the Section 81s and things that needs to be discussed as well. Are effective mechanisms in place for the interests of the overseas territories to be represented internationally? Are the rights and interests of British overseas citizens effectively protected by the current constitutional arrangements? They should add a little bit more to that one and put in there, and if not, then we can create one ourselves. Are the rights of the indigenous people of the Cayman Islands being protected in our Constitution? That's one, folks, take a note of that, because we need to insert that in there, as well. So those are the terms of reference. 2 minutes. Who wants to comment? We got 2 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news.
Well, I don't. None of those statements are accurate, because the United Kingdom, as a matter,
those were questions rather than questions.
Yeah, as a matter of constitutional law, the United Parliament has unlimited power to legislate for the overseas territories, and also the Privy Council has not only the Parliament, but the Privy Council also has unlimited power by orders in council, and also the Privy Council also acts as the final court of appeal. So all of those things that they're talking about, that we're a family and that we're a partnership, has nothing. It has no meaning whatsoever, in especially in this territory, because the whole issue is that the UK, by instructions to its governor, can implement any policy it wants under the governor's reserve powers, and the governor has power to either allow laws or take his own laws. So if you have that kind of power over someone, how can you say that you're a partner to that one? And
how can you say that you're self-governing?
You're self-governing. How can you say that you're self-governing when anyone can revoke what you've done or refuse to implement what you say you want done? That is not self-government. That is self-servitude. That's what it is.
Yes. Okay, so folks, we've reached the top of the hour of the 8 o'clock news, and want to remind you that we will be opening up the phone lines, but this is extremely, extremely important. So we want to make sure that you understand what it is all about. First, we want to talk about process as well. You see where individuals can submit their opinions, their points to the committee as well. But whether or not a collaborative effort is going to be more effective than the individual submissions, we want to talk about that as well. So don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. This is very educational, very informative, and something that you will be able to participate in as well. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
We have over 70 big deals to help you save more on your groceries.
Just like St. Ives Facial Scrub, 6 ounce, just $4.39, save $2.20. Or locally made boxed meals, 10 ounce, selected varieties, only $8.49, save $2.
And you'll also find a Checo pasta sauce, 400 gram varieties, $3.59, save $1. Head in store for more great specials or shop online with Foster's Go. Foster's, better prices because we care.
Price is good until May 3rd, 2023.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller.
For the first quarter of the year, we are already $8 million over the mark. Now that's tourism.
As you heard live right here on Radio Cayman, Tourism Minister the Honorable Kenneth Bryan as he addressed his constituents there and residents of Grand Cayman at a public meeting along the waterfront Thursday night. In addition to announcing that revenues are up in the tourism industry for the first quarter of this year, he also mentioned the potential amendment to controversial legislation that sparked protests at the height of COVID.
And I hope that we'll be able to announce very soon the removal of the vaccine requirement on work permit holders.
The meeting was designed as a mid-year check-in with voters, outlining the achievements made by the PAC-led government, teeing up a few upcoming initiatives that will be addressed more completely when the strategic policy statement is presented in Parliament next week. Another big announcement made by the minister involves pensions.
In these times where the interest rate goes up 4, 5, 6, and 7 times for the year, this PAC administration has agreed to support my original motion that we passed when I was in opposition, but the last government didn't want to implement. This PAC administration has agreed to raise the amount per person can withdraw from their pension to pay off their mortgages from $35,000 to $50,000.
More details with regard to eligibility there are expected to come out during Parliament next week. And in other news, if your child needs some vaccinations, you might want to take advantage of the Public Health's mass vaccination drives that are taking place this weekend. More from Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego.
The Public Health Department is hosting vaccination drives to celebrate the Pan American Health Organization's PAHO 21st Annual Vaccination Week in the Americas, April 22nd through to the 29th. This year's theme is Get Up to Date. #Each Vaccine Counts. All children needing vaccinations, including those with missed or outstanding doses, are urged to get vaccinated during the following mass vaccine drives. Saturday, April 22nd at the John Gray High School Auditorium from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and on Saturday, May 6th at the Mary Miller Hall from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Public health nurse and EPI manager Angela Graham notes over the years, the department has developed and maintained a robust vaccination schedule with a coverage rate of 95% for most vaccines. She says despite this achievement, there are still some children who do not complete their vaccination schedule, thus leaving themselves and other vulnerable groups at risk. Parents are encouraged to make and keep appointments with healthcare providers to ensure their child is up to date on all shots. Appointments can be made in advance by contacting 244-2648. However, walk-ins are also welcome. Parents will also be contacted to schedule appointments for those who have outstanding vaccines with public health. Adults needing tetanus boosters or healthcare workers who need HP vaccines may also attend. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
Now with the check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Danielle Yawowiecka. There's been an escalation in fighting between the army and paramilitary rapid support forces in Sudan. There have been international pleas for a truce for the Muslim celebration of Eid. Britain's Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab has resigned after an investigation into bullying allegations against him. It found he'd acted in an insulting, intimidating and aggressive way towards civil servants. The UN has warned that saving the world's glaciers is, in effect, a lost cause. Its annual report on climate change found they melted at an alarming speed last year, which contributed to global sea levels doubling in the last 2 decades. 10 members of the same family have been shot dead in South Africa during an attack outside Pietermaritzburg. Neighbours heard shooting in the early hours of the morning during a power cut. Police in South Africa have begun evicting a group of asylum seekers, mostly from the Democratic Republic of Congo. They've been camped outside the regional headquarters of the UN Refugee Agency in Pretoria for the past year. The US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has opened a meeting in Germany focused on providing more military support for Ukraine. He told representatives from about 50 countries that Washington was in it for as long as it took. A £1 million a day fine imposed on Poland in 2021 for breaking EU rules has been halved. It was given as punishment because of changes to the way Polish judges are appointed and regulated. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what, child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Boddentown, email rx-bt@valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
Attention all runners and walkers. It's time to lace up your shoes and join us for our annual Deputy Governor's 5K Challenge Run Walk event. Whether you are a seasoned runner or just looking for a fun way to get some exercise, this event is for you. Join us on April 30th in Grand Cayman. Do something good for your body and have some fun while supporting our local community. Proceeds benefit Loud Silent Voices, the Cayman Islands Red Cross, and the United Against Bullying Foundation. The DG's 5K could not happen without support from our platinum sponsor, Applebee, and gold sponsors, Butterfield, Credit Union, Dart, Davenport Development, EY, and our halfway point sponsor, Cynical. $25 for adults and $10 for kids 17 and under. Register at www.racecaribbean.net. Don't miss out on this opportunity to have fun, get fit, and support our community. See you at the start line.
105.3 Breeze FM live. Now it's an Man Bushman representing for 105.3 Breeze FM.
Hey, this is DJ Lynn. Join me Sundays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 for Beach and Reggae Sundays. Whether you're out in a boat, in the backyard, or simply on the beach catching some sun, it's the perfect way to unwind for the weekend as the sun sets on our beautiful Caribbean Sea. Join us this Sunday from 2 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 Beach and Reggae Sundays.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you're going to invest in an exotic pet, choose anything but a Norwegian forest cat. Apparently, they will eat all your jewelry. Before you know it, you're racing to the vet when your cat escapes from his carrier and lunges for your earrings. You crash and your cat swallows your pearls. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Motor Insurance and get the best comprehensive coverage for the price.
Get the best comprehensive coverage for the price. CG Britcay. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 79%. The barometric pressure is 29.94 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east at 5 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopses indicate light winds and smooth seas are expected across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours due to a weakened pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Satellite images show scattered low clouds over the Cayman area. Now the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures today will be in the mid-80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of less than 2 feet. Pretty much the same for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be light and variable, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. High tide will be this morning at 9:43, low tide this afternoon at 9 minutes after 4, and a high tide again tonight at a minute after 11. The sun will set this evening at 6:43 and will rise tomorrow morning at 3 minutes after 6. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Monday morning. That's the very latest on your weather report.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving our goals is rewarding, but at times can feel frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, be realistic. It's important to set realistic goals and say no to distractions. If you overcommit, then you may have difficulty sticking with your goal. Keep your goals doable. Choose goals that mesh with your other responsibilities. You may also need to tweak either the goals or other priorities if you find things aren't going well.
Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. Encourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On Course Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. We take a look at how your traffic is shaping up this morning. I know if you're coming from the east, there's a lot of traffic delays this morning. Traffic is busy on the Linford Pearson Highway, as well as coming off of Bobby Thompson Way and off of the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way. So you expect some delays. Traffic, eastbound traffic that is, on Cool Road is heading pretty good. And as we look to Westway 4-way stop, moderate flow of traffic. Heavy traffic coming off of the Esley Tibbetts Highway and continuing on to the Industrial Park area. Traffic is moderate and steady traffic on Lordstown Road. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue traffic is flowing at a good pace. On the Westbay Road, steady traffic heading to Georgetown and heading to Westbay on the Westbay Road in front of the Ritz. Traffic is moving on moderately. Into Georgetown on Shedden Road, looking pretty good. Out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, traffic is moderate. Edward Street traffic light to moderate. Owen Roberts Drive traffic is light to moderate as well. If you've seen accidents or incidents on Cayman's roads, give us a call here at Radio Cayman, 949-6990. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Radio Cayman News.
Pled not guilty to the 2 charges he faces.
They discussed the new Cayman Brac High School, recommending a short list of options.
There was a significant increase in road fatalities in 2022.
Three-time Carifta Athletics gold medalist believes she was unfairly treated by the local athletics association.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve McFeel. Ms. T, I'm going to throw the mic over to you.
Right. So, as I said to you, I was trying to track the history of what transpired from 1999 to the current date.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we are aware that right from the very beginning, concerns were raised by the overseas territories about whether or not they have a good relationship with the United Kingdom, whether or not there is a room for discussion and issues about what is going on locally versus what is going on in the UK. So at that time, there was an introduction of a minister in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, designed primarily to deal with the overseas territory. So even from 1999, there was no one specific office that had responsibility. Mm-hmm. So folks are talking about the problem with communication and so on. One of the issues that popped up with me, and only because I'm in banking right now, is the concern that we have over FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, right? And you saw the decision that recently came out between SEMA and Maples, and how that impacted us. So for the listening audience that's not familiar with the Financial Action Task Force, I'll only say that it's an intergovernmental body which gained more significance after 9/11 when it was mandated and expanded to include both money laundering and terrorist financing. And it's supposedly designed to safeguard the international financial system, and they've made some recommendations about how you combat money laundering and so on. Now, the United Kingdom has been a member since 1990, and today the United Kingdom is compliant with 24 recommendations coming from this organization. They're largely compliant on 15, and they're partially compliant on one recommendation. Cayman, as of earlier this year, satisfied 60 of the 63 recommendations that FATF wanted us to satisfy, and we're still on the grey list. So you see, and I'm drawing parallels here this morning. It's not intended, and the intention is for us to think about this rationally and to see if we can find some kind of common ground where there's a principled approach to these issues, so that people don't see it as an anti-expat or anti-UK or whatever. This is just what is. So Cayman has satisfied 6 of the 63 requirements and the recommendations. We're still on the grey list. Now, countries like Pakistan, for example, that were not compliant, or Nicaragua, they were all actually taken off the grey list. Cayman still remain on the grey list. And I know recently a question was posed to the gentleman who is the president of FATF. His name is Raja Kumar. Why is it that Cayman Islands remain on the grey list? And he says it's due to strategic weaknesses, and that half of our action plan, even though half of the action plan has been addressed and we're working really hard to deal with it, we're still not sufficiently compliant to come off the grey list. I know that...
how recent was that?
This was in March last month.
Wow.
This was last month.
Okay.
That was the comment that was made. And I say this, because when you're blacklisted, because that's the next step. If you're not off the grey list, you get blacklisted. You're then talking about economic suicide. So my question has been, and we've been having the conversation, when the United Kingdom says that it's here to assist and so on, and, we were talking also about the EU, and now the United Kingdom is no longer a member of the EU, because in Gibraltar, they're wondering what their situation is going to be coming out of Brexit with the changes and so on. What do we do locally to assess the UK's performance in terms of its responsibilities, the responsibilities that it has here? What we've seen in the press from time to time is that they always use the nuclear option when the Caymanian government or persons within the government have a different view about how things should proceed. I want to know, what do we do to assess the UK's performance in terms of them satisfying their contingent responsibility to the Cayman Islands? So that's a question that I have, and I'm hoping that our Minister Andre Ebanks will be in a position to ask us a little bit more about that, So I just wanted to throw that out there with that.
Mm-hmm.
The other concern that I had was with respect to the question that they raised, the final question about what are the rights and interests of British citizens, whether or not the rights of British citizens are effectively protected by the current constitutional arrangements that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a population, I understand, of about 80,000 or more. And of that,
82,000 plus.
So Dr. Steve is saying 82 and change.
Yeah, okay.
Of that, there's the suggestion that the Caymanian community makes up 47% of that, which means 53% is not Caymanian. And we don't even know how that actually deals with new Caymanians within that 47%, what percentage that they comprise as well. There is no mention in these questions raised by the United Kingdom as to how our rights are going to be preserved in the conversations that they're having. And, when we start to talk about rights of British overseas, and let me reiterate, I'm not pointing at anyone, pointing fingers. This is about trying to wrap our minds around really complex issues. How is this going to affect voting rights? How is this going to affect people that we actually elect going forward when we start to ask these questions? I know that the tendency when you talk about constitutional changes, people say, well, you're going to talk about independence or you're going to talk about political parties. And when you start having those kind of conversations, people start saying, oh, you want to be independent. You no longer want to be.
You think we still have that mentality here in the Cayman Islands? Because I think
you just read the chat.
I would have thought that people would have had a better understanding of that. Now, in the 60s, in the 70s, you remember when the decolonization committee came to the Cayman Islands? What was his name? Vinabubu.
Yes.
And there was this objection to them, and they weren't treated, properly and stuff like that. I thought that people in the Cayman Islands got over that we have been through so many constitutional reviews
No. You look at.
I mean,
I'll leave it to Steve.
whoever's spreading that, it's almost the equivalent of the gun lobby in the United
NRA.
States saying that they're going to take your guns away from you.
Yeah, but
so, Orrett, do you think that if that was prevalent, do you think that the governor they would not have been an uprising when the governor used his nuclear option at Section 81 and impose single-sex marriage or civil partnership law against the will of the whole legislature and against the will of the Caymanian people?
Good question.
It is worse now because a lot of people who have great investments here worry about Caymanian people taking political power autonomously and it's in complete control.
Yeah.
They're worried about that because remember now how we got our windfall. We got our windfall because the black people in Bahamas overthrew the white Bay Street people, and a lot of them came here to find a new venue to set up their own businesses. So that's how we got our windfall. And so we have always been sort of subservient from then on, not pushing the envelope, not making any noise because of this sort of threat. We hold the golden egg. We hold the goose that laid the golden egg. And if you're making a noise, we're just going to take it and go someplace else.
But on the converse side, though, Steve, our community, in my mind, is uninformed politically, and
Definitely.
you see it in the chats. I mean, I don't normally contribute to the chats because, you don't want to, for a number of reasons. But you will ask certain questions to hold people accountable, and you will just get zero silence. When you people outright say we don't want to move from the United Kingdom as a dependent territory. They come in your face and tell you that. So I will sometimes ask them, how do we view ourselves? Because that statement suggests we don't even trust our own people for leadership. So we would rather trust some institutions or persons with a history, for example, of racism, with a history of treating folks inhumane. And in the it's interesting, in the Different Partnership for Progress reports, there's always this view about humanity and human rights and securing all of these responsibilities, touching on the point that you raised about civil unions and so on. But the historic behavior of the UK is not without issue. It is not without controversy. But we are more than willing to rely on an institution or a benevolent, I was going to say that, with leadership.
A benevolent.
That's where I was going to go, but maybe. So, but we would prefer that and take that whip rather than having our own people to be in positions of leadership.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and why is that? Why is that? Why are our people in that position? in that position? Is it because of lack of education, or is it because of lack of leadership that has enlightened their people and want to elevate them? Which one is it?
Well, I don't know if we've invested the way we should in education, which is why 40 years after the fact, when these folks came from the Bahamas to develop the economy, why we're still having this conversation. Mm-hmm. The other issue that I'm thinking that dovetails that is that we've never really had a history of collective action, meaning that we don't get along with each other, trust each other enough to want to do something as a collective in the best interest of the community. Started with
we have never had a common cause.
No.
A common cause.
No.
You think not?
No, I agree. I believe that we have never had anything yet. Well,
like
I would
example,
say that natural disasters, hurricanes and stuff like that. Hurricane Ivan, you saw everyone get together, everyone helping each other. The rich South Sounders and 7 Mile Beach people, they were queued up on the lines, waiting for water. Everyone was looking for some generator to plug in to charge their cell phones and stuff like that. That is the only time that we had something in common, because we were all suffering the same fate.
Not suffering, we were forced. Forced by the natural disaster to do that.
But other than that, we have never had anything, of commonality in the Cayman Islands that has brought us all together under one big tent. Time for us to take a commercial break. When we return, folks, the conversation will continue, so please stay tuned. No, that's true.
Use that momentum now.
Yeah.
You're right about that. You're right about that.
Yeah.
You're right about even when we started to form our new nation in 1962, when we had the chance to form our new nation, we fell apart. You remember that?
And it's going to get worse, because as our population becomes more and more diverse, it means that it's going to be less.
Yeah, but that's kind of where I want to drive that in that direction.
Yeah, because we keep bragging about this 115 or 200.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy to understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
105.3 Breeze FM live. Now it's an Iron Man Bushman representing for 105.3 Breeze FM.
Hey, this is DJ Lynn. Join me Sundays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 for Beach and Reggae Sundays. Whether you're out in a boat, in the backyard, or simply on the beach catching some sun, it's the perfect way to unwind for the weekend as the sun sets on our beautiful Caribbean Sea. Join us this Sunday from 2 p.m. on Breeze 105.3, Beach and Reggae Sundays.
System one loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. I just want to say the phone lines remain closed for now, but we will open them up later on. In the studio with me, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn and Dr. Steve Macfield. So, Ms. T, let's pick up on that lack of a big tent.
I know. So the thought that came to mind as you were speaking was the whole Morant Bay uprising in 1865 in Jamaica, where you had people getting together for economic reasons. And that actually led to the development of modern Jamaican politics today. Dr. Steve and I were talking a little bit about what happened in 1962, and I think I got it wrong when I was talking about Mr. Orman and his resignation when Mr. Rose did not accept his. There was some issue with him getting into the executive council. And what I was going to say was to bring a parallel between what happened in 62 to what recently happened with this PAC government, in that when Mr. Orman left, and Dr. Steve corrected me and said it wasn't just Mr. Orman, and he also explained why, but no one else in the party left other than the other gentleman that Dr. Steve mentioned. And we had the same situation here when you have the PAC government comprised ostensibly of independents, when there were two views. One that he was fired, and the other one that he resigned. So and I don't know I don't know what happened, and then what would be the constitutional position, whether or not would the governor be and again, this is a nuanced area for me. I don't know anything, whether or not the governor took on that responsibility, or whether or not the premier made that recommendation to the governor.
The governor can't take it on himself.
It has to come from the premier.
So I wanted clarity around that, because I wasn't sure what happened, because like I said, there are two views: resignation, and then he was quote unquote fired. So looking at what happened in 1962, because that's where I started this thinking, and looking at what happened in recently in our own community, and going back to what Dr. Steve always talk about, having a British constitution and having the notion of independence as opposed to parties, collecting that thought about how Caymanians tend to respond when they hear that term parties, that you want to be independent, that you want to get away from the United Kingdom, and there are all these pejorative and comments and issues about malfeasance that's happening. And again, about us, the Caymanian people. So we don't have faith in ourselves. The Morant Bay uprising is an example of where economics brought people together. But even with labor in the Cayman Islands, you have a group of people, as Dr. Steve said, came over from the Bahamas originally. Many of them are now holders of Caymanian status. And this is why there is this nervousness and tension between Caymanians when they're using that term, whether you're generational or indigenous Caymanian, or whether or not, you're a part of that group, because everybody's Caymanian now that you have Caymanian status. Who then takes care of us? And certainly the proposal that is suggested, the terms of reference here, does not include those types of conversations. How best do you think, when we're having to respond to these, make these submissions, what would you think would be the best thing for us to do to ensure that we get something principled, impartial, submitted in response to this?
Well, those persons who still try to be politically correct and say that if you are a born Caymanian, right, which means that the government doesn't have to give you any right or privilege, you've been born into it, and those who obtain their citizenship or their Caymanian status by virtue of a grant, by qualifying based on a number of years being in the territory, unless we get away from that politically correct situation, right, then, because there are those who say we're all Caymanians because the law says if you possess Caymanian status, then you're Caymanian.
The immigration law says so,
yes,
but not the Constitution.
Right. Now there are countries, and there are some people will argue that the Germans, and not talking about Hitler's Germany now, we're talking about Germany in itself, that at one point in time you could not, and I'm not sure if it still obtains today, but your citizenship was determined by the blood that flowed through your veins, right? Which means that you had to have a blood connection with Germany in order for you to obtain German citizenship. There are people in the Cayman Islands, and I am a part of that. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm a part of that, that all of the papers, all of the qualifications in the world in terms of the length of time that you have been in the Cayman Islands, if you don't have a bloodline, a connection with the Cayman Islands, there is a distinction between the two. You know, you can feel all of the affinity in the world that you feel towards a place and say, well, this is the only place that I've grown up in, this is the only place that I have known. It is more than that. You have to feel, you have to live Caymanian, you have to live among them. That means that you have to have some bloodline. But we have to get around that. We have to stop being politically correct at times and be able to determine whether or not a person is a Caymanian by virtue of a grant or through the process, what the Americans would call a naturalized citizen as opposed to a born citizen. We have to be able to do it. And the thing about that, the dilemma that we're having is that based on the data that we collect, we're moving more and more away from that. Now, whether or not that is deliberate, that you may go to one entity and say, well, how many people are born Caymanians, and they can't tell you. Yep.
That's right. They can't tell you, and they really don't care to know either. And how do we get then to what kind of mechanism that we are going to need then to answer some of these questions that the House of Commons now are inquiring into? How do we go about that?
Well, let's
ensure that you get the public participation, not in the politician group or anything, something impartial and something that is disciplined.
Well, let's look at what they have said. It says. The Constitutional Affairs Committee will examine the constitutional position of the overseas territories and welcomes submissions from governments, parliaments, and citizens of overseas territories as part of the inquiry. My position on that is that the people of the Cayman Islands, we don't want the politicians to submit anything on our behalf. We don't want the government directly to submit anything on our behalf. Former politicians, if they want to be engaged in the process, yes, but we need to look and examine the remit of the Constitutional Commission to see whether or not they are best positioned to collate the views of the people of the Cayman Islands so that we can speak with one voice to this committee. I don't know what you folks think about that.
Yeah,
I think so.
Under Section 118 of our Constitution, they have the authority to do that.
Let's share that with our audience.
Yes. And Section 118 says that the functions of the Constitutional Committee shall be to advise the government on questions concerning constitutional status and development in the Cayman Islands, to publish reports, discussion papers, information papers, and other documents in constitutional matters affecting the Cayman Islands, and to promote understanding and awareness of this Constitution and its values, and to exercise such other functions as may be prescribed by a law enacted by the legislature. And in the exercise of their functions, the Constitutional Committee and its members shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority. That is very, very important. Yes. So that would be an autonomous body not controlled by the government, not controlled by the government's views, but controlled by what they believe is the people's views.
That would be interesting, so that we collate and organize all of these things, and you push it through. I don't know if Vaughn listening to this morning, but he's probably going to be a little nervous.
We'll get through to him. We'll get through. We're certain. But of course, individuals may want to submit, make their own submissions.
Yes.
And individual entities as well. Because, folks, don't you for 1 minute doubt the fact that all interested parties, when I say all interested parties, I mean all, will make their submissions, some that we will not hear about, some that we will not know about as well, because this hasn't ruled, the remit and who can submit hasn't ruled out those persons who are just simply resident here.
Yes, right.
On work permits,
right.
And everyone's going to be wanting to look out for their own interests as well.
So what are some of the rights and interests of British overseas citizens effectively protected by the current constitutional arrangements? What are some of those rights that I have been listening to and hearing on a daily basis? What are some of those rights?
I was only going to say numbers matter, because we're 80,000 in terms of having the population. And if we're going
1,000 plus.
Yeah, you keep reminding me. I even think it's closer to 100,
yes.
But there you have it. But if you're thinking, if there is a view, and you see it from time to time when there are things disclosed in the press about decisions made by Dr. Steve's particular board, or a number of the immigration board, that folks hold the view that, their rights are not being sufficiently protected. So I want to put that there and put that right there in the middle of the table, because that is a part that has to be disseminated, discussed, and marinated to see how we're going to deal with that as well.
Okay, folks.
And just let me plug this before you go to your commercial break, because according to what I've heard, that some of those rights of the British overseas territorial citizens, effectively the rights of interests of British overseas citizens effectively protected by the current constitutional arrangements. Some of those rights that I have been made to understand that certain people in the country feel that they have their constitutional right protected is the right to vote and the right to be elected to the legislative assembly.
And that's why numbers matter.
Because bear in mind now, they say British overseas citizens, not overseas territory.
Exactly.
Exactly. The nuance.
Exactly.
The nuance term.
Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a 3-year hiatus, Junior Badabanu is back.
Look where we reach again.
That's right. The streets of Georgetown will come alive on Saturday, April 22nd, when Junior Badabanu will present colorful costumes with this year's theme, A Hearing Drums. The Family Fun Day will start at 2 p.m. with food, face painting, and much more. It's going to be a whole heap of fun for the entire family. Junior Badabanu Street Parade begins at 4 p.m. on Saturday from the lawns of the Glass House. winds through the street of Georgetown, and returns to the Glass House for the big finale and awards for the best junior Badabadoo bands. Come celebrate the juniors' unforgettable memories this Saturday at Junior Badabadoo Street Parade. Sponsored by Cayman National, Saxon, Cayman Airways, Pepsi, RBC, the Department of Tourism, and Radio Cayman.
Vaccines are as important to your overall health as diet and exercise, like eating healthy foods, exercising, and getting regular checkups. Vaccines play a vital role in keeping you healthy. Vaccines are one of the safest preventative care measures available. Get up to date with vaccinations you or your children may have missed. Call the Public Health Department today on 244-2648 to schedule your appointment. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in conjunction with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station. Your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McField and Ms. Theresa Pitcairn. We're talking about the House of Commons welcoming feedback on the constitutional relationship between the United Kingdom and its overseas territories. So, folks, they're saying here that they welcome feedback, and they're saying if you have any comments, complaints, or have any complaints, or comments, they welcome feedback in relation to this. Now, one of the things that I believe that we should put forward, once we have identified a representative body, a body that can represent the views of the majority of the people in the Cayman Islands, and which we have opined here that we believe that the Constitutional Commission is best suited, for that. I think we should advocate as well, and we have less than 5 months, and that's not a whole lot of time. We should advocate for a delegation to also appear in person at the committee's hearing as well. I think that they would welcome that. And we don't have to go on the UK's dime. We don't have to go on the UK's dime at all.
We can pay our own pay.
We don't want government representing us. And like I said, former politicians who are no longer active in politics, if they want to come on board and be involved in it, fine. But we don't want parliamentarians. They can make their own submissions, and they can say whether or not they're making them on a personal basis or on behalf of the people of the Cayman Islands. But I believe that the people of the Cayman Islands should have their own designated entity to collect, collate, and submit our position to the committee.
I think so. I think this is a good chance now for us to be heard up there in across the pond, and I think. But so then help me then with this now. How would the Constitutional Commission obtain the views of the majority of the people?
By the same way that we did when we had the constitutional review in 2008, 2009. You have meetings throughout the districts. You get feedback from them. I think in every case that the presentation should be recorded so that we have them verbatim rather than persons taking notes. And then you get back together, and the commission gets together, puts everything in order, publishes a white paper and say this is what we propose to send to the committee, and eventually do that as well. But it has to be structured, and to me, the only structured entity that we have that I believe can do that is the Constitutional Commission. And maybe we should look, I'm not sure, Doc, can someone take a look at the composition of the Constitutional Commission to see how many members, because it may need to be expanded. It may need to be expanded, or more staff needs to be assigned. Now, one of the things that we would want from government is maybe some funding if the Constitutional Commission needs additional staff to assist in this process, because 5 months is not a whole lot of time.
It says the Constitutional Commission shall consist of a chairman and 2 other members appointed by the governor, acting after consultation with the premier and the leader of the opposition, at least one of whom shall be an experienced lawyer.
See, now we would need a constitutional amendment to get to change that. But there must be some way to work around that as well by...
So it's only 3 people.
You consider anyone else that you assign to it as assisting staff or something of that nature, for that purpose. I don't know. But we can work it out. We're going to work it out because we're going to keep hammering it home here.
We've only got 5 months,
Exactly, 5 months. So folks, would you all like to maybe look at some of the terms of reference and talk about those? Let's look at number 1. Are the UK's current constitutional arrangements as regards the overseas territories satisfactory and appropriate in the 21st century? Do we have a 21st century relationship with the UK, or is it still the master and the subordinate? I'm not going to say slave, the master and the subordinate relationship that we have. 6 minutes before we go to our headline news. Anyone want to take that on?
No, we don't. And in fact, we don't even have a 19th century relationship, because when you look at the relationship where the UK has ultimate powers over you, that is not a relationship in which it is satisfactory in this 21st century. So, bear in mind that as I was saying before, as matter of constitution, the UK Parliament has unlimited powers to legislate for the territories. They have it. They have and the Privy Council also has unlimited power to issue orders in council, and also they are also the final code for appeal for the territories. The UK can also issue instructions to the overseas territories to implement certain policies where the territorial constitution gives the governor such a power. And the UK has responsibility for the defense of the territories and to manage most of their foreign relations and their international affairs, except for those things that the governor gives to a minister. So that is not, to me, that is more of a master and servant relationship than what I see. And that is not a 21st century appropriate for the 21st century.
But that's, so for example, those are our views. It will be curious to see what other people think, because like I said, on these chats, you predominantly see many people saying, well, we don't want to change anything. And in fact, when Dr. Shamari's sister, her name is Mikana, when she did her PhD and she was sharing with us that evening, that was one of her findings when she did a number of interviews, especially with younger people as well. Well, the older population, it appeared, had this view about, we want to remain a dependent territory. But it seemed there were mixed views among the younger generation about where we are. They asked practical questions about labor and stuff like that. But I don't think that they appreciated that the questions that they asked actually relate to political institutions and the nature of the constitution that we have.
Well, what would be more appropriate for the 21st century is the sort of constitution that Bermuda has. Bermuda has what, over 75,000 people,
The population, I don't know.
Population?
There, yeah, 60.
And Bermuda population is about that. And it has a parliament dating from 1620. That's even before the formation of the United Kingdom. Its constitution was adopted in 1968 in preparation for and in the expectation of a transfer of independence, which has not yet happened. Even though they had a referendum in 1995, in which I believe that was stamnified by certain people, some elements who didn't want to see Bermuda independent, and so forth. So,
and it was also held right after they had been struck by a hurricane.
Hurricane.
So the conditions weren't right. Even though I don't think it would have succeeded.
So that's a contradiction in itself. So why? So if Bermuda can have an independent constitution from 1968, what happened to the other territories then?
Okay, and Bermuda's population as of 2021 statistics 63,867.
Yes. But they said some constitutions are not alike. Remember the comment that they were.
Well, this is I think I have enough time to say this before we go to our headline news. This is another issue that we need to address with the committee, is that they've said that Bermuda's constitution was a pre-independence constitution, right? So basically what they're saying what they have said in the past to us, up until 2009, they say this to us. This is as far as you will get with your constitution. Yes. Any step further than this means that you have to go to independence.
Yes.
Bermuda hasn't gone to independence since they gave their constitution. So if they can live with theirs, why can't we then have that? And some of the things that we would want from the Bermudan Constitution, one specifically would be that the governor does not chair cabinet. Yes. The governor stays in her residence over there, gets the copies of the cabinet papers or whatever cabinet may report to them, but she does not, and I say she because it's a female governor there now, does not sit in cabinet. They have steadfastly refused that. The other one is the presence of the Attorney General and the Deputy Governor in our Parliament. They have used weak reasons for that one, and they have not given any cogent reason for why the governor has to still sit and share cabinet when they still have the nuclear option. Folks, top of the hour, headline news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
As you heard live right here on Radio Cayman Thursday night, the tourism minister has announced that government may soon remove controversial legislation that sparked protests during COVID, a requirement for all work permit holders to be vaccinated. More details are expected to come out during Parliament next week. A Russian fighter jet has accidentally bombed the Russian city of Belgorod, about 25 miles from the border of Ukraine. The bomb left a 60-foot crater and caused an explosion so large it blew a car onto the roof of a nearby shop. The regional governor said authorities had ordered the evacuation of a damaged 9-story block of flats as a precaution. 3 people were injured and several buildings were damaged. And a picture of the late Queen surrounded by some of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren has been released on what would have been her 97th birthday. The Princess of Wales took the photograph during a family trip to Balmoral last summer. It shows the smiling young royals, including Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, all sitting next to their Gangan. The Queen died on September 8th last year at Balmoral Castle. Those are your headlines. I'm Kersley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
the headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA's Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McFeel and Ms. Teresa Pickern. So, folks, our panelists here, we are in agreement then that the current constitutional arrangement as regards the overseas territories is not satisfactory nor appropriate in the 21st century, despite the fact that our new constitution was agreed upon and came into effect in November of 2009. So 14 years down the line, there are portions of it that are still not. And we have seen some not successful attempts to amend our constitution, because we speak of a constitution, being a living document that should change with the times. So that's what they're talking about here. But what have we gone to? What have we gone to the UK and asked for?
Cosmetic changes.
Yes. Feel good. To fill egos, to satisfy egos. We want to be called a parliament, just like when they wanted to be called members of parliament. And what was the argument for that? Oh, when we go overseas and we say that, we are, members of the Legislative Assembly, people don't know what that means. There's so many countries throughout the world that still refer to their legislative bodies as legislative assemblies and things of that nature. So, that really isn't there. But like you said, the cosmetic changes is what we have gone, for the not low-hanging fruit that have dropped off the tree, fall off the tree, and we pick it up.
Oh, so you're in your zone this morning.
Yes.
But I just like to make this point before you go to the phones. Even though the administration power the UK for the overseas territory is the UK, and they have the responsibility under the UN Charter to support their political our political and economic and social development and self-government. The attitude has always been stay if you want, leave if you want. What kind of administration is that? What kind of responsibility is that when they have done nothing much to support our political, economic, and social development and self-government? I have never heard any argument from any British governor or any people in the overseas territories, especially in Cayman Islands, about self-government. And I have never heard anything about supporting their political and economic and social development. Have you heard it? Have you seen any institutions for that in the Cayman Islands?
No, but the thought that came to my mind as you were speaking, take it or leave it. This is what he used to tell us in Bonda. Take it or
Yes.
But if there, and I say if cautiously, if there's any credence to what we have seen circulated in the press recently regarding certain outcomes with the PAC government, you get the impression that it appears as though the governor does not have that type of respect for those that we elect to office, rightly or wrongly. And that rattled me a little bit when I saw some of the communication. And I wondered to myself, if I were in a room where I was spoken to in a way that was clearly condescending, and the view that I didn't have the intellectual capacity to understand what is being communicated. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but that is what is being inferred from some of the stuff that I am not sure if that would bode too well with me. You know, so there is this issue then of respect between the partners and raising the question of whether or not a real partnership actually exists.
What a real partnership would be, for me, would be that the UK, the administering country, says that unless they have a clear view by a referendum, a majority of people that we want to go further, unless we have a view that it's take it or you can leave or go or stay. At the same time, they're doing nothing to educate us, to educate the people, and our government is doing nothing. Our governments have done nothing to educate the people about this particular issue.
But that's why I say, how do we assess performance? It's one thing when we elect people and they have not performed in a way that one would expect under normal circumstances. But then we do have the UK leadership that is here that's looking on as well. And what comes to mind, from time to time is and again, this is very, very sensitive. Do we have a police organization that we believe actually, and I'm going to be really, really careful with how I, coach, say what I'm about to say. If we were to assess the police's performance in Cayman, and I say this, like, for example, in the nights or in the mornings when you go walking, and it's not impossible. In fact, more often than not, you see one car coming, no lights. Cars coming towards you as you walk in, don't have any indicators or anything. These are basic little things, right, that traffic police can do, for example. And we see that day in, day out. If I were somebody coming in and knowing the way my mother used to be involved with police, and my mother and my uncle, I don't know if I would give them even a C as a grade for the way in which we see traffic breaches from time to time. In the role that I play with Minister Bryan, with litter and garbage and stuff like that, you see breaches all the time for which the police can take responsibility for. And I'm not saying that they're the only person under under my view right now, but only because we're talking about this context and the Constitution and the responsibility that the governor has. That's why I'm raising it in this way. If we were to evaluate the police's performance, what would that be? Would we give them an A-star? And I mean, that's the remit for the governor. And I know if there are pressures that the governor may have under the Constitution, that responsibility can be delegated to a minister, and that minister can actually appoint somebody to get that job done if it is the perception that the public is not necessarily satisfied with what we're seeing. I know this will rattle folks because that's what the truth does.
The truth does. The truth does rattle. And I can tell you, my experience, I have lived in Northward now since 1978.
Wow. And
I have been parking outside of my fence since then. Because sometimes when a lot of people come, there's not enough place in the yard to park. And for the first time in my life, I got a parking ticket for parking outside my house in Northward.
Get out of town.
On last Sunday.
I don't believe it, Steve.
Say that I was impeding the flow of traffic.
Wow. After 40-odd years, Steve.
After 40-odd years.
Wow.
After 40-odd years. So I
wonder what could have triggered.
Well, a lot of things could have triggered that. It could be some of the things that I'm doing and some of the roles that I'm playing, some of the hats that I'm wearing. There's a backlash of people who have connections here and there, and they don't like some decisions that have been made and some things that we're doing, and so that could be one of the things, because I can't understand, because I came home last night and I saw all the cars parked just 10-15 yards away from where I was parked, and I don't see any tickets on their windshields.
Amazing.
Okay. One of our listeners has written and says, I can see this as a touchy subject. I would suggest treading carefully when dealing with the UK government. In my opinion, they don't have a stellar record dealing with their past and present colonies. Start with a review of the history of the 13 U.S. colonies and the unavoidable Revolutionary War. After the British loss, they came back and started the war in 1812 in an attempt to recapture the U.S. Look to India as a more recent history of UK relationships with their colonies, as well. So this person,
So be careful, tread carefully.
They were extremely skeptical.
Yes.
Then someone else wrote in and said, "Good morning. Do you or any of your guests have any reflection on the feedback that a previous Cayman representative in the UK, Mr. Eric Bush, gave to the Foreign Affairs Committee about the views of Cayman on the UK and Cayman's relationship?" And then they go on to say that was a weak and childish view that was given, and they hope that that is not used as our position. So that's extremely interesting as well. So, folks, we're gonna move on. So, what is the UK's Parliament's? No, sorry. Okay, what is the UK's government's relationship with the overseas territories? I guess it depends on, I would say it depends on which territory you're talking about, because it's treated differently. Now, we have heard the former governor, Martin Roper, right on this show here, when I questioned him about the relationship with the Cayman Islands, and he pointed out that the UK has a very good relationship with the Cayman Islands currently, right? I have been, in government for a few years, so I've seen, different administrations, and my view would be it depends on who we have as the head of our government, whether or not we have a leader who's prepared to confront the UK, or whether or not we have a leader who is using kid gloves or trying to, and you have to be diplomatic at times, but trying to use too much diplomacy to get around it. So if you don't rock the boat, then the relationship is fine. If you rock the boat, then it ain't so fine. I'm going to ask both of you to comment on that when we return from this commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Washing your clothes in cold water can save you 90% of your washing machine energy usage.
Using LED light bulbs uses 75% less energy than regular bulbs, and they last 25 times longer. Keeping your appliances and equipment cleaned and maintained regularly will reduce your monthly electricity bill.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costyless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Heart disease, cancer, Diabetes and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a 3-year hiatus, Junior Badabinu is back.
Look where we reach again.
That's right, the streets of Georgetown will come alive on Saturday, April 22nd, when Junior Badabinu will present colorful costumes with this year's theme, A Hearing Drums.
Look where we reach
The Family Fun Day will start at 2 p.m. with food, face painting, and much more. It's going to be a whole heap of fun for the entire family. Junior Badabinu Street Parade begins at 4 p.m. on Saturday from the lawns of the Glass House. Winds through the street of Georgetown and returns to the Glass House for the big finale and awards for the best Junior Badabinu bands. Come celebrate the juniors' unforgettable memories this Saturday at Junior Badabinu Street Parade. Sponsored by Cayman National, Saxon, Cayman Airways, Pepsi, RBC, the Department of Tourism, and Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McField and Ms. Teresa Pitcairn. Folks, before you answer my question there, I just want to, the person who wrote in about our then UK representative, Eric Bush's submission to the committee. And this is a report by the Cayman News Service. What the date? I'm trying to find the date on it. The 16th of October 2018, and it says Eric Bush was asked if the Cayman Islands was on a collision course with the British government over the issue of beneficial ownership when he faced questions from UK members of Parliament on Tuesday when he appeared before the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Select Committee. The committee is reviewing Britain's relationship with all its territories, which were invited to submit contributions about potential improvements and give evidence this week. One of Cayman's stated priority suggestions is the protection from, and I quote, future constitutional overreach by the UK Parliament, triggered by the beneficial ownership row, which was a key part of the questioning. Bush, the Cayman Islands representative in London, argued that Cayman shared the same goal as Britain in fighting money laundering, terrorist financing, and corruption. But the recent act of the British Parliament that has led to the potential imposition of a beneficial ownership register betrayed years of constructive conversation. He pointed out that Cayman has already come to an agreement with Britain and was part of a disconnect in the management of the relationship between the two governments that led to the disbelief on the Cayman side over the amendment to the sanctions and anti-money laundering legislation and the frustration in the UK Parliament about what Cayman does. So I just wanted to share that part. And it says Bush did not say definitely when asked by several members about whether or not Cayman would abide by an order in council. He told members, member Mike Capes, that the conversation between Britain and Cayman continued. Bush said he was not qualified to answer whether or not the UK would have to trigger the order in council to make Cayman comply, and stressed that the Cayman Islands had until the end of 2020 before the legislation passed in the UK requests the territories to implement public registers. And that order is still there. They haven't removed it, just like they haven't removed one for the BVI after the Commission of Inquiry over there. And of course, the BVI, they're having their national elections on Monday. They have already had advanced polling, and I think some 1,400 persons have voted already there. And whatever government is formed after the elections on Monday, they will still be held to account, and that order in council still remains there. So, folks, I'm going to get you to answer that question. In the meantime, I will advise our listening and viewing audience that we have opened up the phone lines. We suspect, I'm not sure, but we suspect that many people will want to opine, will want to give their views. If you do call in, we're going to ask you to please make it short and sweet. But back to my question earlier.
Firstly, let's look at the UK Parliament. The UK Parliament, as I have said before, has unlimited power to legislate for the Cayman Islands. And through their Privy Council, they can make orders in council and so forth. And the UK government can give instructions to their governor to implement laws and policies that is contrary to what the UK parliaments or the UK legislatures want. For instance, the same-sex marriages and the civil partnership. That was not something that the legislature voted for. In fact, they refused to do so, even though the constitutions, the people didn't want it. And by the way, a lot of people didn't know. I drafted a amicus brief on behalf of the Ministers Association, which stated that there was no constitutional or civil rights for single-sex marriage in Cayman. And the courts here didn't even look at it. They didn't even look at it.
Just for a listening audience, just tell them what an amicus brief is.
An amicus brief is someone who is not a party to the suit, but has an interest in it. And so the Minister Associate had an interest, and we drafted an amicus brief. And I said from then that there was no constitutional or civil rights or rights to same-sex marriage under our constitution, and of course it had to go all the way to the Privy Council to be able to have that clarified. So the government can instruct their governor to override the laws of the country, and the governor can instruct the governor to make his own laws. So those are the some of the relationship with that Parliament has over the territories.
Okay. One of our listeners has written and said, people are scared of independence in Cayman because of the poverty, corruption, and lack of stability that has plagued places like Jamaica since going independent. Well, I believe after the abolition of slavery in 1835 and in the United States, or 1865, if the slaves had been afraid, the freed slaves had been afraid to go out on their own, and some weren't able to because they were already tied to the land by the landowners, then they would continue to be slaves today if just the fear of that was all that was there. Folks, those of us who think this way, we don't realize that there are so many options in place. But the big question is, would you prefer to be free and out there to fend for yourself than to be a slave and have to be handed your meals and everything else? Someone gives it to you at their will and at discretion. That would be my question.
But why are we stuck in that position? And I mean, and why do we go down the road of Jamaica? I mean, anyone that says that clearly don't have an understanding of how.
And we have many countries that have been successful after independence.
The United States of America. Yes. So I'm not sure why people are corruption happens everywhere.
So anyway. while I am
just to remind you folks, the phone lines are open. Go ahead, Doc.
While I'm a proponent of independence, I don't think we're ready for that yet. We're not ready for that yet. We don't have the resources to do that right now, and we don't have the human resources and the financial resources to go in.
But we won't even talk about it.
And the intellectual resources as well.
Yes.
And I mean, we have to be real about that.
Yes.
I know that you and Roy and others have always talked, and Ezard and Arden have always talked about this. We have to be prepared. We must take those steps to be the owners of our destiny. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's no preparation now. or before or being made for that reason. So that's the reason why I'm against it. I say that we're not ready for it. That's the reason why I say we're not ready yet for that.
But you see now, though, I mean, look at the questions that are when folks have asked questions in the past about, if the UK say today that, for some reason or other, they don't want, they're going to have gone from any responsibility that they have for whatever reasons. Where would be what no one anticipated were some of these questions that we're now being asked, that are now being raised, and we're now having to review them to come up with sensible responses. And, one of the questions that we said, when they talked a little bit about what are the rights that the British citizens enjoy in the Cayman Islands, notice that the UK weren't asking what are the rights that the Caymanians have, and the indigenous or generational Caymanians have, because that would not necessarily be in their best interest, or they weren't even thinking about us when they asked those questions.
Well, that's already constituted formatted, because they say if the interests of the British is if our interest clashes with their interest, then their interest prevails in the Constitution. So they're looking out for the interests of those of their people.
I've seen a comment on Facebook the other day about some party that someone had, and this was some kid that grew up here in their entire lives. Parents are from not Caymanians, or and this kid had a huge party, and one of the comment was that this kid lived here all his life and don't even have one Caymanian person, not even an Oreo. I had to laugh quietly to myself. But there you have it.
We have we have two callers on hold. We're going to take those calls, but why don't we take the commercial break? This way we won't have to interrupt the caller, because we have about a minute and a half before the commercial break. And this gives me an opportunity also to say that Pastor Winston Rose is celebrating his birthday today, his 80th birthday. So we want to wish Pastor Winston Rose a happy birthday, and of course the birthday greetings are coming from his entire family as well. Pastor Rose, happy 80th birthday. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Ensuring your walls, ceilings, and floors are properly sealed against air leaks is an important step in lowering your monthly energy bills. Even small gaps around windows, under doors, or around lighting and plumbing fixtures can add up to as much air loss as having an open window.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costyless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Mr. Teresa Pitker and Dr. Steve Macfield. We do have a caller. Before we go to that caller, we just want to give a big birthday shout out to Miss Adriana Webb, who's celebrating her birthday today as well. Miss Adriana Webb, birthday greetings coming from all of your family members, including Miss Suzanne Bothwell as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to you, Pano.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. So, you know, did she have a birthday last year?
Sorry? I skipped last year. I celebrate every 2 years now.
Okay. I just want to agree, Mr. Maxwell, 1,000,000% about us becoming independent, that we're not in the position and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into detail what you said, but I agree with him 100%. And Mr. Maxwell and Miss Teresa, I want to see if you can answer this question for me when I hang up. If you will receive a letter and it does not state that particular thing is gazetted or it's the law, how does that work? If they want you to do something and it's not gazetted, showing no proof it's gazetted, and can't show no proof that it is the law for a particular place here in this island. And Mr. Maxfield, does a director you trying to have a conversation with has the right? You're talking normal, and he's going to tell you, I ain't got time to argue with you and take the phone in your ear. Does director does that to people? I'll leave you with those questions. I hope you can answer them for me, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the... No more callers?
What was that question?
One had to do with if they have a government entity has provided you with a directive that something needs to be done, but they're unable to show you that it is law or that it has been gazetted.
Then there's no directive. Yeah. Like if the means of notice has not been promulgated, and in fact, if they cannot put their hands on the original directive, they would have to have some hard copy of the directive to notify the people that the directive covers. Then there's no directive.
Mm-hmm.
That's
okay. Let's another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Osi, and to the panel.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
All right, sir. It's Johan Moxham. Good morning to Dr. Steve and Miss T. I just got to say, I listen to you guys all the time, but today has been one of your really top 10 shows. It's educational, it's factual, it is thought-provoking, and it really, really should be the sort of thing that makes it onto TV or shared amongst the masses, and then you have a public sort of conversation. It's that really.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done. It's always good when you guys get together. Interesting points were made, Ms. T. You are as eloquent and as brilliant as you've always been, and I just got to acknowledge that. What I thought was really thought-provoking and prompted me to call was we don't have a national sense of what binds us as a people. So how do you then develop a sense of national pride when different people are here and choose to make their home for different reasons?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a conversation that we're not having. The concept of the economic migrant that comes here and recognizes that this is probably the best place in the world to improve their economic and financial circumstances, that is a large driver. But is there truly the level of integration that is needed to have a really deep connective tissue and something that bonds us beyond the fact that this is a tax-neutral jurisdiction and that you can do really, really well financially? We don't consider there are people that become Caymanian that are Caymanian by convenience, for the want of a better word. You know, it allows them to stay here and to really do well, and they become very successful. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that happens with immigration everywhere in the world. However, the point that I was going to make was the reason why we're not ready for the concept of independence, and the reason why we struggle so greatly is because when we talk about prejudice and discrimination, there are no people in this island that discriminate against each other more than Caymanians.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We hate, like, listen, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm no fool. And I call it as I see it, and I never beg anybody for anything. But speaking the truth, or speaking your truth, and the three of you in your own lives have come up against this. No Caymanian wants another Caymanian to succeed and to speak the truth and to highlight the issues that make us fourth world. Okay? It at least, and this sounds so bad, I'm not a slave mentally in any way, but at least if you're connected to the United Kingdom, there is the belief, and it is a legitimate belief, that our financial services industry will be protected, because that is the lifeblood of the country. It represents 75% of the GDP. It effectively fuels just about everything, all the public services in Cayman. But the point that I was going to make is this: you have a better chance of some form of objectivity if you are connected to a third party or somebody from outside the jurisdiction, because Caymanians hate Caymanians more than we hate expatriates or anybody else. And I'm not using hate as
yes.
We legitimately hate any Caymanian that is bright, that is brave, that is driven, that is successful, that goes against the grain, because what Caymanians are taught, you got to know your place. Whether it's colorism, classism, or you just come from the wrong neighborhood, that is ingrained in us. So at least if you are connected to something else, you might stand a chance. I'll give you an example. How is it the rules? I'm a public official. If I do anything untoward, if there's an allegation or suspicion, I guarantee you I will be made an example of, because of what I stand for, who I am, and what I say and do. However, there's a sliding scale of accountability where certain people are repeat offenders and they get a pass. And the highest offices in this country defend, protect, and make excuses for these transgressions. But if somebody continues to be in the spotlight over and over and over again with allegations of impropriety and abuse of office, listen, I'm not saying that they're guilty, but where there's smoke, there's fire. All I'm saying is, with us being connected to somebody else from the outside, there's a chance that I might get an objective break, or somebody might look at my circumstance and say, hey, give me that person's track record. Because right now, there are Caymanians in leadership positions that none of us, the three of you in that studio, or me on this telephone, stand any chance of getting a fair shake at anything, because we don't know our place.
Okay. Caller, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller.
For that. I believe one of our callers has called back just to clarify what you were saying earlier. Caller, good morning. Welcome back.
Mr. Maxwell, I understood what you said there, and if I was a little bit closer, I would shake Mr. Mock some hand. I just want to give a little brief. I'm not trying to make it long as possible, too long. Why I asked that question: I am a taxi driver, and I have an ID every year to be renewed, right? Now, I got it renewed, and was supposed to pick it up in February. They called me, told me it was ready. When I go for it, they tell me that they can't give it to me because I do not have this yellow banner run across my windscreen saying tax 1210 Now, it is, you can't find it in the Gazette or in the law. They had a letter there and want me to pick up stating that this is what the story is about this banner. I would not pick it up and I would not sign for it. So they sent it register, and the ombudsman told me to go and get it and read it and bring them a copy, and I did just so. So what Mr. Maxey said earlier, I agree with you. And is me one out here fighting this situation. And like Mr. Moxham says, we Caymanians, we don't stand with each other. We are our biggest enemy. And it's only me fighting this situation. And if I have to lose my tax license, I'm fighting for this, not to put this banner on my car, because they can't tell me what I'm going to gain and what I'm going to lose, putting this banner out there on my vehicle. Mr. Maxfield and Ms. Teresa and Mr. O.C., we are ambassadors for this island. We are not a bunch of uneducated, ignorant-looking drivers out here trying to make that 80 cents dollar. That is not me, and I will not get in that category for nobody and to do that kind of nasty service on my country that I born and bred. I would rather lose my license. In public transport, you need to explain to me what is the purpose of this banner, and nobody can tell me. And this director, he's not even on this letter that they sent to me. There's a chairman's signature and name on the 2 letters that I got. So that's what I just want to explain to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. We're going to grab one more call before we go to a commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning there. How are you?
I am well. Good morning to everybody in studio. Dr. Macfield, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
This program, as Mr. Johan said, is very thought-provoking and, to me, educational. And I thank you for your offering this morning, Mr. Connor. Thank you so very much. I want to ask Mrs. Pitcairn about the what she was talking about. What was it, FATCA?
Yeah, FATCA.
But I don't know if you passed that in your discussions, because I wouldn't want to interrupt this either. So I was wondering if you just want to carry on in this vein, because I wouldn't mind that. I really don't want to disrupt this, but. I'd catch her another time with that question, because I would like to expand that question also. So maybe you would want to carry on in this vein. I don't know, Mr. Connor.
That's a conversation too we can do, because that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Because that actually touches on our whole economic survival, and it really and there's a whole lot of research that's been done on it. But at the end of the day, like I said, that I know Minister Ebanks said that. The hope is that we will have satisfied the 3 outstanding requirements for us to come off the grey list. But the impression that I got from other sources is that that's usually discretionary as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But caller, the problem that we have in the Caribbean, and this was demonstrated so eloquently by Prime Minister Motley from Barbados. Yeah. And she was saying, what does a little person in Barbados who's trying to open a bank account in Barbados to save their few pennies, how does that affect the financial system in the world? How does that affect these other countries? She say it has nothing to do with that. And as soon as you do one thing, and you satisfy that, they keep moving the goalposts to another thing. And so she say it's another form of neocolonialism and slavery.
This is why I say it's discretionary, and that's why I use the example of the UK. The UK themselves have not even satisfied half of the requirements. And I know, as a matter of fact, working in the banking industry, that neither has the United States. But I mean, these are the big players. These are the G7, and we're the little plebs on the street and really don't have a voice.
They're the masters.
Yeah.
Caller? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. We're going to take our last commercial break. Ms. Susan, we're going to close the phone lines off now, because there's something that I want to speak about, and I'm going to preface it here to give my audience, my 2 panelists, an opportunity. We have been receiving calls on my show and on Sterling show as well, in relation to the work that Mr. Raymond Scott does and the BRAC in relation to keep in contact with vessels that are at sea. And the person has spoken about the fact that he's never compensated for what he's doing. Now, people also have to understand that while he has been doing this as a hobby or whatever, he was never on the government's payroll. And because of transparency and all of the other reasons, it is very difficult for the government to say now, okay, we're going to have you do this, we're going to appoint you to do that. They probably could do it, but would come in for a whole lot of criticism if they don't put it out there to competitive bidding. And I'm thinking my advice that I want to offer this morning, and you can tell me when we return if I'm wrong, has to do with him setting up a non-profit company, right? not for profit, but that then he may be eligible to receive funds from the government. Those funds can be used for the maintenance and support of equipment and stuff that he uses to communicate, with vessels, to coordinate rescues and things of that nature. And I wanted to see what you all think about that. So when we return, we want to talk about that. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual-specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
The application deadline for Education Council Local Scholarships for the 2023-2024 academic year is Sunday, 30th of April, 2023. To apply for an Education Council local scholarship, please visit the Ministry of Education's scholarship application portal at moescholarships.gov.ky or email the Scholarship Secretariat Unit at scholarships@gov.ky to learn more. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education's Scholarship Secretariat Unit.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning. We have closed off the phone lines. My advice, and I realize that both of you are not necessarily familiar with what Mr. Raymond Scott does in the BRAC, but he reports on marine activity, if there are issues, safety at sea, rescues or things of that nature. He sometimes he assists in coordination as well. But just in general, if you have something that you do that provides a valuable service, and it isn't something that is necessarily provided by government, to set up a nonprofit, see whether or not you qualify for government funding that will assist you in the continuation of the running of that particular entity. That would be my advice to the individual. Try that and see what happens. One of our listeners wants to know from you, two good folks here, want me to ask you what you think about the Caribbean creating a fund to challenge those big countries in court when it comes to issues of offshore financial services and the gray and blacklisting, whether or not we should mount some sort of a challenge to it.
I have to smile because that would be great. But according to what Mr. Moxham said just now, we hate each other, and in the Caribbean is even worse. Some countries don't even talk to their other countries' prime ministers or heads of states. Look what's happening now in Jamaica and stuff. They're just getting around to the fact that to change their constitution to break away from the monarchy system,
turn it into a republican.
Turn it into a republic. So I don't think that is feasible. People are not, even in disasters, people refuse to pay the money for the insurance. The Caribbean insurance for the disaster is not right. Have an insurance system there.
Yes.
For the disaster, where each country has to put in so much money every year.
Right.
And some people haven't paid for that, for their own.
Well, when it was
safety.
First started, I remember Mr. Honorable Tibbetts was leader of government business then,
Yes.
and we went to a forum. I accompanied him to a forum in the UK, and at that point in time, it was broached that I think it was called CCRF. I'm trying to remember.
Acronym.
Yeah, the acronyms for it. But at that time, the premium was $1 million. And the World Bank had put up some money for some countries that were unable. They put up the seed money, and then we came on, and I think Bermuda assisted one or two of the overseas territories that didn't have the funds to come up with it, at that point. But that still exists, and at first it was very burdensome to get any settlements from them, but that has changed now and stuff like that. So we have seen Caribbean countries benefiting from that.
But that would be a great idea if we could get them together.
Yes.
Well, there's also the existence of Cayman Finance, and that I understand is also under the but OC, the comment that we raised during this meeting and what Johan just did about what binds us, because that in my mind goes to the core of some of the issues that we have. I remembered when I graduated with my first degree, Dave Martins actually had a meeting with about 10 of us as recent graduates, and he raised these exact points. And at the time, and it was a wide cross-section of Caymanians, and he would ask about how we were raised and how we spoke to each other and so on. And I remembered some folks saying that, that they didn't realize that when they spoke to some of their friends and called them Black Sambo, that was pejorative. Some of them said that, described relationships that they had that they observed with their parents and observed as friends, that they felt that they had a sense of entitlement. So the other thing, this is what most people say, this is what Americans are required to say when they become citizens. Immigrants are required to say when the immigrant completes many requirements to become a U.S. citizen. The final step is to take an oath of allegiance. You promise to be loyal to the United States and give up loyalty to any other country. You promise to defend the Constitution and obey the laws of the United States. You promise to serve the United States, etc., etc. Is that what when folks become Caymanians, is that what they're required to do as well? And is this the kind of declaration or undertaking that they're supposed to make? I don't know. I
think for British citizenship, they
have to do
a few
something
years
like
ago
that.
they introduced this whole civics thing, and but bear in mind now that whatever they swear would not be to the Cayman Islands. It would be as a British overseas territory citizen in Caymanian, unless we develop something for ourselves here to say that when you get Caymanian status, when you obtain Caymanian status, that you should do something in that regard as well.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, since we were talking about constitutions, one of the things that we were able to include in the oath that they take, and the governor as well, and she will be taking her oath this afternoon, has to do, with allegiance to a certain extent to the people of the Cayman Islands. Of course, that is when, if the interests of the Cayman Islands align. When they're not aligned, then the interest of the UK is the one that that's going to prevail. In her view.
You can't serve two masters. So I mean, we're in a conundrum, and we really though have to try and figure out what it is among us that prevents us from actually, and
But there has to be some sort of a mosaic principle, mosaic system similar to what we had experienced in Canada.
Yeah.
Canada has many different nationalities, but they're all Canadians.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of mosaic principle. For instance, we're reviewing the point system, and one of the things that we found is that people get half a point for each questions that they can answer successfully. Well, what does that do? Does that tell you anything about Cayman? Yeah. Because they can go that night and they can box off 20, 30 questions and get 10, 15 points. And they forget that the next day. There should be some sort of immersion course, cultural and social and political course that people would have to take. That's my personal belief at a college or university that is accredited for that, and they will get a certificate afterwards saying that they have successfully done this, and then there has to be some sort of national policy that everybody follows. Like in Canada, they have the Canadian mosaic, and each one are this tapestry that they have woven, that we all come from different places, but we're all Canadians. That some sort of philosophy like that has to happen. You know that when you come to Canada, you have to go through this immersion and orientation, and to make sure.
But what do we do in the interim, though, about us as Caymanians, whereas we've concluded to a degree that we don't seem to have nothing that really binds us? Or there are things that, right now with the economy, because everybody talking about the cost of living, everybody talking about traffic, everybody talking about their children not getting, there are things that are there relating directly to the economy that binds us, and primarily Caymanians, other than the indentured laborers that are paid about $6 an hour.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the individual spirit of Caymanians, that while we interacted as a community and we helped each other, going back to the days when you bartered, if I have bread can and you have fish or whatever, we would swap it up. But we drew a line somewhere where we became that independent spirit, that everyone, while I'll work with you and cooperate with you, and don't forget what Doc always remind us, what one of the commissioners said, that if you if you're not the captain, you go down in the engine room and you wreck the ship.
That's right.
As well. So it may be more psychological than anything else.
I think so. I believe that, and I have noticed that many years ago, when we went abroad and so forth, and we were part of delegations and stuff. And they were people, do you people have your independence? No, we don't, but we have economic independence. Yeah. We would always brag about that. I think that has left us now. And I think that one of the things is the quality of life that the Caymanians now are facing, that they have lost, that they are facing, and the whole standard of what it is to live in your own country and to be able to excel in your country and to be able to live comfortably in your country, that has gone. And it seems to me that a lot of people think that will never come back to them. And every time I drive around the island, I can see that more and more and more, where this despair in Caymanian people's faces and in their attitudes and in their thinking. Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with it too.
I believe that, when you face with a common problem or a common, and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it, a common enemy, or, that is when, you get people to coalesce, to come together. Look at the Ukraine. They know the enemy is Russia, and they all coalesce around that. You don't hear the Ukrainians, fighting amongst each other. They're all united against the Russian. We have never had that. Well, I would say that we have never had it. We have never identified that common threat. And maybe it is now survival in Cayman. That may be that common threat that may pull us all together, hopefully. But, you know, we have to remain hopeful. Folks, I want to thank you all very much for being here this morning. Lots of positive feedback and stuff like that. We look forward to more of this because we have to we have to get this whole thing on track in terms of getting the position of the people of the Cayman Islands, and not via politicians, not via the government, but an independent entity that does not answer to anyone like the Constitutional Commission to coordinate our response, the people's response, the people of the Cayman Islands response. That does not prevent individuals from submitting their own, but we need to put something together. Thank you all very much, folks. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to our weather charter, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority.